Hello, welcome to the Jaybefaunt channel. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. So good to see all of you here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Today is May 9th, 2023. I am your host, James Fauntleroy. Come on in, have a seat, and grab a snack. Well, grab a snack first, then have a seat. Which order is it? Anywho, welcome. Come on in. So good all to see you. The Jaybefaunt channel is available on all major podcast platforms. Subscribe to me there. I'm also part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network, so you can find me on the JB Show on Sundays at 1, on RBN Live on Tuesdays at 4, and the Savvy and JB Show on Thursdays at 6. And also, if you guys would be so inclined, you guys can also go to my Substack. You guys can go to jaybefaunt.substack.com if you guys would like to get email notifications for whenever I go live or upload any clips. Also, thanks all the patrons on Patreon, Coffee, as well as members. Thank you so very much. And yes, I need to update this list. In fact, I'm going to do it right after the stream. But yes, thank you so much to the patrons of Patreon, Coffee, and members, as well as any subscribers and people who may send me anything via various platforms that are in the description below. I appreciate it so very much. Did I thought I did something. I didn't do the thing I was supposed to do because I was busy. So yeah, and thank you so very much for that. There's a few stories that I'm going to be talking about. One of them is going to be a very somber story, but I'll be talking about that as well. But there is some stuff that came across my view that I was like, you know what? This is some stuff that we need to talk about. And so, yeah. But first, before I go into that, I want to play a little something. I was going to do a cold open, but I was just like, yeah, nah, I'm not going to do a cold open. I'm just going to, play this. But I definitely want to show this to you guys. Because I thought it was, I thought it was good. I may even close out with this, but let me get this up right quick. And this is a banger. And then I will get into saying hello. All right. So hang on. This is going to be a cool message. Make sure that I get this up. Let's go. All right. Compliments of the Communist Party in Kenya. All right.
We've been used and neglected for like centuries. With the riches, the resources, still in poverty. They put our forefathers through a lot of suffering. Why do they hate us this much? I'm still wondering. In the 60s, they gave us independence. I can't lie, this move was to defend them. Africa is free, that's what they pretended. They are shamelessly living in enslavement. They gave us some debt that we could never pay back. In return, our resources was the way out. They control our leaders who can save us. Big up to Gaddafi, tried to unchain us. They took you down, but all you did was tell us. A lot of false story about you was made up. We didn't believe at the time that they hate us. And all they meant was nothing but enslave us. They exploit us in return, we get nothing. If there's a lot of war funding. A lot of black kids are used to sleeping hungry. Fuel food prices are always rising. Innocent solo massacred in Congo. It was nothing to them, it was normal. As long as they get what they want, they will never stop. But how long will allow this to go on? They've set up corporations that they used to steal from us. We offer cheap labor, but get less in return. We be boots all over clothes are second hand. Africans, you're at the mercy of these hooligans. They don't have the present, but think about the future. They are looked as all they do is use us. We've been ruled down in poverty for sure. They gave us tea with salt, with no sugar. We've been brain dead, still in our slave chain. It's a shame that nothing we have gained. This a blame game, freedom is a main aim. Rise again from this pain and true independence. I say out of the present, but think about the future. They are looters, all they do is use us. We've been ruled down in poverty for sure. What they gave us tea with salt, with no sugar. We be brain drained, still in our slave chain. It's a shame that nothing we have gained. This a blame game, freedom is a main aim. Rise again from this pain and true independence. I tell you, strip but drink the leftovers. Our local industry been taken over. Greedy from the west world, our controllers, they stolen our doctors, we left with no one. They've done our leaders to their puppet. We're living in a world that is so imperfect. This ain't trouble war, this is a war of classes. Because we all lose when they read the budget. Our oil and our gold are their target. The exploiters, we getting here to serve them. Our road are so poor, never lasted. If you try to oppose them, you are hunted. In Africa, no money means no justice. In health facilities, they are poor service. No empowerment to youth who are idling. We are being controlled by capitalists. If you don't have the present, but think about the future. They are looters, all they do is use us. We've been ruled down in poverty for sure. What they gave us tea with salt, with no sugar. We be brain drained, still in our slave chain. It's a shame that nothing we have gained. This a blame game, freedom is a main aim. Rise again from this pain and true independence. I say out of the present, but think about the future. They are looters, all they do is use us. We've been ruled down in poverty for sure. What they gave us tea with salt, with no sugar. We be brain drained, still in our slave chain. It's a shame that nothing we have gained. This a blame game, freedom is a main aim. Rise again from this pain and true independence attain.
That was great. That was actually from the Communist Party of Kenya. So I wanted to show that. And if you guys actually saw the lyrics, it was actually talking about really the history of how Africa has been treated by the West and the global North. And so this was something that they actually shared with me. And I was just like, oh, shoot. Yeah, definitely. I actually shared it on Twitter. And I actually wanted to show that on my channel as well, because I think that a lot of times we don't realize, and it's exactly what Michael Parenti said. He said there's no such thing as a country, only overly exploited. And we see that out of all those countries in Africa, they're all overly exploited. There was a meme that was showing how you had piles of rocks on the Western countries, and you saw these deficits, these holes that were dug in the global South, especially. And so that just basically shows that, these countries, they have the wealth. And in fact, I personally like to call Africa and South America, they are the pantries of the world. And then these countries, especially from the global North, they grab, but they leave nothing left for anybody else who's there. So thank you so much to the Communist Party of Kenya and to the International Magazine for showing that. That was a great job, and it was also deeply informative and very conscious building of a song. So thank you so very much. Now, to the chat. Say hello to everybody. We have the Quantum Alchemist coming in, leading the pack, saying, "Hi, JB. Your Laziness Does Not Exist book has faunted with my mind." I'm glad you're getting a lot out of it, and I will be continuing that book a little bit later this week. Yes, I'm reading the book by Dr. Devon Price, Laziness Does Not Exist, on my channel. So if you would like to, you can go into the playlist for different readings that I have on here, and you can go into the Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. You can go into that, and you guys can also watch and hear my my conversation about the different contents of the book. Janice Anderson coming in saying, was speaking to an Uber driver yesterday, and he told me the drivers only get 25 to 30% since Uber is in fact acting as an agent. It should only take 12 to 15%. More than that should be illegal. Yeah, we're going to be talking about that. Thank you so very much for that, Janice, as well. Old man Barker coming in saying, hey, buddies, China and Canada just expelled each other's diplomats. We're going to get into that. So good to see you, old man Barker. YepX says, morning all, a little bit of good news. I may be getting a cat today. Oh, cool. Says, been months of failures trying to find a match. As JB said, we like them kitties, both kinds. Thank you so much and congratulations, YepX. Sarina coming in saying, greetings, comrades. I'm still shaken from the Allen, Texas mall shooting. Is pretty close to home. Oh man, I'm so sorry. Yeah, I kind of know how I feel because I'm less than 10 minutes away from the Pulse nightclub. I feel just take it, day at a time, and try to remind, like, unite with your neighbors in order to help change the country, and try to help educate them. That could help, ease some of the feelings that you may have. It's not going to take them away completely, but hopefully it helps. But I'm very sorry about that. So we have Bryce Smith coming in saying, what up, JB? Sup, everyone? Good to see you, Bryce. We have Red Dove Rising saying, hey there, and greetings, everyone. Good to see a Red Dove Rising coming in. Hot. Ryan Wagner coming in saying, education now. Yeah, definitely was education. A lot. And I'm happy about that. We have Mouse FF says, I love music that supports the struggle without sounding pedantic. Right? That is really, really cool. You know what? I should have tagged Jesse Jet because he's definitely into music like that. I think I should. I think I'll try to do that after the stream and tag Jesse Jet. Jesse Jet would love something like that too. And Awkward I will also really find a lot of value in that too. I think I should tag them. They would absolutely love that. So yeah. Thanks for putting that in my brain. Thank you. All right. We have Kill Your Egregore says, hi, JB. Hi, Kill Your Egregores. All right. Good to see ya. Good to see ya. All right. Just saying hello to all the people I didn't get to say hello to. All right. And then let's check on the rock. All right. We're good there. Okay. So what are we going to be talking about today? So there's 3 stories I'm going to be talking about today. So we have Cold War in China, Uber Eats drivers in tears. We're going to be talking about that. And then tragedy for Glenn Greenwald will be our final story. And I have a few things to say on that. So one of the first things I want to talk about is the Uber Eats driver in tears. So this is going to be kind of a quick segment, but I just wanted to share this with you guys because, I was talking about what's going on with Uber drivers, I think in the last week, and that they're here in Orlando, they are going on strike. Uber and Lyft drivers, really. And so because of that, they are just sick and tired of being sick and tired, basically. They are constantly being shortchanged as far as what they are getting in compensation because they are independent contractors. They do not get a actual living wage by law. They do not get benefits, actual benefits. And then on top of all that, these companies basically scalped them for a lot of money that really should be going to them. And so that's something that I think that a lot of people really need to take into consideration when it comes to a lot of these people who work for ride shares. And a lot of these ride shares are also now in the food delivery business. And the food delivery business had a major boom in 2020 due to the pandemic. See, everybody was staying home, so people, if they wanted to get something out to eat, then they just ordered through these apps, and then they have the food delivered to them. So it's not the old days when the only places that delivered food, especially here in Florida, was, Papa John's, Domino's, and Pizza Hut. And though those days are over, because if you want Greek food, you can order Greek food. If you want Spanish food, you can order Latino food. You can order Latino food. If you want burgers, you can order burgers. You can basically do all that. And there's different companies that you can do that with. You can do that through Uber Eats, Postmates, DoorDash, Grubhub, and the like. And so this gentleman, an Uber Eats driver, is in tears. And I am going to be sharing this really quick because I think that people don't realize the human aspect of what a lot of people who are in these gig work go through. And so let's go into that right now. So share screen and all right. And this caption says, y'all, I wish who order Uber Eats or DoorDash understood what it's like to be a delivery driver. Let's listen to him.
I wish people knew what it was like to deliver for Uber Eats, Postmates, DoorDash, all these companies. I just spent an hour driving around for $1.19 tip. I mean, would it hurt y'all to tip us, throw us $5? I got $1.19 tip and $2 from the app. What's that? That's not even enough to cover gas. How am I supposed to survive like that? Homeless. I'm there. This that I'm sitting in, it's gone. 4 months behind. There's no way I could pay for that. Everything fell apart on me. I haven't been able to sustain myself, provide for myself. And these are essential services. I just wish people knew what it was like. I wish they understood what it was like to drive for these services.
Does your heart hurt? Because mine does. My heart hurts. He said he drove for an hour and got $1.19 in tips. My biggest issue is people will go, well, they charge us all these different prices. And so therefore, if we can't tip, then we can't tip. We can only do what we can do. Well, I do see your point as far as these companies charging all these different fees, which is true. You're using these people and you're pushing that exploitation as well. We're both getting exploited. But at the same time, here's my thing. If you have transportation, why don't you get in your car and go and get it? Now, there are some of us that don't have transportation, which is fine, right? Okay. Like for people like myself, I don't have transportation. But you should factor a tip in, because I feel like if you go to a restaurant, you factor the tip in and your food cost. This is no different than going to a restaurant. No different. So if you're going to go, well, I just didn't have enough money for tip, then I guess you better take your ass to the grocery store and cook some food at home. Or if you're going to get something that you don't really need to cook, then when you go to the grocery store, get your food from the, that's microwavable and zap it and eat that. But you're not going to sit here and use labor and then not pay for labor. See what I mean? Now, there's there's two different people at fault. There is the person who ordered, who does not want to tip, and then there's the companies that make it so that these drivers have to rely on tips in order to survive. So one of the things that really got me mad was some of the comments. So Human Nature says, homeless Uber driver cries after getting a small $1 tip. Asks, how am I supposed to survive? So this is actually a good one. Arcane Saint says, I always tip extra on DoorDash. They are literally driving you food. If they shop extra for that as well, you tip servers, you tip drivers. If you can't do that, do not order off the apps or go out. And that's basically, my thing. I'm just looking because I saw some of the comments yesterday, but I haven't seen some of the latest comments. It says, if food service drivers were as mad as the people paying them for not paying them enough as they were mad at people just trying to be as well, it's frustrating. We don't understand, but we're not the ones you should be mad at. You're the one that ordered the food. You're the one that you're the one that has the option to tip. And you can, they even give you the option of how much you can tip. And then you can even go above that. So if you're not willing to tip, then guess what? Don't order from them. Don't go out. You know what I'm saying? That's my problem, And then it says, oh, yeah. It says, America, stop expecting the consumer to voluntarily subsidize your ability to underpay your workers. Yeah. And so this is something that, we're constantly being told that, people have to work based on service. And I'm like, yeah, but at the same time, you're leaving it to them to not pay at all, even if the service is good. Which is slavery. Like, what? I'll put it I may sound harsh. But if you're going to say that there's times where I just don't want to tip because I just don't have it, well, then you're basically trying to force somebody to do labor for free, which is slavery. Are you down with slavery? My thing is, if you're not down for slavery, then you're also not down for forcing people to do work for free. And if they're not forcing people to do work for free or for below a living wage, then I suggest you make contingency plans to get food for yourself. Because if you can afford to get Uber Eats, DoorDash, places like that, then you can afford to go to the grocery store and get that stuff. But at the same time, there are some people who can't do that, which is a lot of people who are disabled. And for them, I say, if you can afford the tip, then go ahead and do it. But if you can't afford the tip, then try to order groceries so that you won't have to get them over and over and over. You know what I mean? Try to do that. But that's the problem. It's, you got a lot of people who feel like, well, I don't need to order them a tip. And then people get mad when some of these drivers, they see that the person doesn't tip, so they just leave the food at the restaurant. They don't even take the order. And so people are like, where's my food? Where's my food? You didn't tip. So, you know what I mean? Because the thing is that I can understand if these companies actually paid a living wage for drivers to actually deliver, but they don't. So these drivers are literally driving for damn near free, and then you don't tip them. So then what? What are they supposed to do? I just don't see that as fair. And as a socialist, as somebody that has solidarity with workers, I'm like, look, if I were to go to a restaurant, I better have tip money. I better. Unless I'm in a circumstance where I don't have anything to eat and I am desperate, then okay, fine. But other than that, no. And if you need to learn how to cook, you're on YouTube right now, aren't you? Go ahead. People will teach you how to cook on YouTube. Soul food too. Good food. But the thing is, you cannot sit here and keep blaming others because this guy is literally working. And please do not come at me with that, oh, well, they just need to get a real job. They're working. They're working. What are they supposed to do? And then on top of that, you got a lot of these companies that will go, oh, well, there's a bunch of companies that are hiring right now. But a lot of these companies are doing what they like to call quiet hiring. Well, they'll have job postings just so that the government sees, oh, well, they have job postings. But in reality, they're not hiring at all. And in fact, what they're doing in these companies is that they're forcing their own workers to work even harder and to work double for the same amount. And then these workers are, even though they're getting the job done, these employers do not want to hire more people because now they know that these workers can actually do the same job with half the staff. So now that a lot of these jobs are running with skeleton crews, and then they're raking in all these profits. So then people like this guy, guess what? He can apply for a job, but they ain't going to hire him. And then try hiring somebody without an address. Try doing it. Try hiring somebody without an address. And then this guy's talking about how I think he's 4 months late on his car payment. So there's a chance where they can repo his car on top of that. This system is unsustainable. It is unsustainable. Let me show y'all something. Let me see something. Let's go to Q4. I'm trying to get this. Because these companies are raking in a lot of money, and people really need to see this. Wait. Oh my gosh. Okay. All right. So let me share my screen really quick. Sorry about that. Something just like not going very well. But anyways, this is out of Reuters. It says DoorDash put profits on the menu. So look here. It says this is out of New York. It says this is last year. DoorDash is taking the same route as technological peers. The $22 billion food delivery company unveiled its plans on Wednesday to slash its workforce by 6%, or about 1,250 people, in what has become a familiar refrain from Silicon Valley. Following boss Tai Zhu's blog post about the decision, its shares jumped 4%, recovering a morsel of the 75% decline in November 2021 peak. So it says top line growth, it says, which has been the main course at DoorDash and elsewhere, will be relegated to a side dish. It says the nearly $5 billion in revenue generated in the first 9 months of this year represents an eightfold increase in the same period in 2019. $5 billion. And so people are sitting here, really, like, one of the biggest people who we should be going against is the CEOs and the shareholders for these companies. Because people like this gentleman should not be living this way while doing this work for him, while doing this work for them. And it really pisses me off, because it should not be this way. I'm going to show you guys this, and this is going to piss you guys off. It's really going to piss you off. But your outrage needs to be fuel for going up against people like this. So this says executive pay soared during the pandemic, widening the gulf between CEOs and employees. These were 5 execs who received the largest pay packages in 2020. So let me go down. Tony Zhu, CEO of DoorDash, number 2. DoorDash's Tony Zhu became the second highest paid executive in 2020 with compensation valued at $414 million. 2020 was a breakout year for DoorDash as the pandemic forced people to stay home and food delivery orders ballooned. DoorDash went public in a highly anticipated IPO in December. $414 million in compensation. And people are living homeless in their cars trying to deliver for companies like this, for Uber Eats, DoorDash, Postmates, Grubhub. And you got this guy raking in $414 million. This is unsustainable. So, my heart goes out to that gentleman for what he's going through. One thing I will say is for people, especially who are hungry and homeless, if you can donate to mutual aid, like for instance, I want you guys to look up Food Not Bombs, okay? Food Not Bombs is a mutual aid organization, and they do great work, especially for people who are homeless. Now, there are some cities that will go, oh, you guys can't be giving food to homeless people, blah, blah, blah. And, they will either get a ticket or they will get, arrested. But it is worth it because you're literally saving lives, right? I'm going to share my screen really quick. So here's Food Not Bombs. It's foodnotbombs.net. And the quote here says, a nation that continues year after year to spend more money on military defense than on programs of social uplift is approaching spiritual death. That's from Martin Luther King Jr. And so Food Not Bombs does great work all over the world. If you guys can see, there's their locations, right? So they have different chapters if you would like to join. There is, you can volunteer. So this is Food Not Bombs, different locations. So I highly recommend anybody, if they want to try to help people, especially those who are hungry, food not bombs if you can, because people are starving out there, and it is not right that you have people who are literally homeless that are literally working. He's working, and he still can't make enough, and he's literally in tears. So if you guys can donate to them, donate to them. Help them out. Even if you can't physically do anything to help them. So yeah. So that was the story that I wanted to touch on. And from what I'm hearing is that gentleman also, I think they have a link tree, I was told, but sometimes people may use opportunities like that to, some people may use opportunities like that to, scam other people. So I have to be careful. But that video got 20 million. That video got 3.6 million views. 3.6 million. Because people are suffering. I'm trying to think. So yeah. But let's go to the next story. Oh, before I do that, let me go to the chat. My apologies, guys. You see, Luz therein, Taliman says, I don't order from these gig services because I don't think it's ethical to use a service that doesn't pay its workers a wage. Yeah. Hey, dude, dissidents. Good to see you guys. Nice to have you. I didn't know you guys were in the chat. Oh, dude, dissident says, I drive for these apps. Would love to discuss this with you sometime, JB. Dude, if you're available, I'll let you come on the stream right now. Just say the word. But if you want to do it at a later time, that's cool too. But just letting you know. But yeah. Hey guys, follow Due Dissidents. They do great work, by the way. Just click on their avatar, go to their channel, give them a follow, come back here and continue the conversation. By the way, I actually had him on a couple months back. You see. Mouse FF says, it was a trip living overseas when nobody tips. Your boss just pays you enough to live. How crazy is that? Yeah. Like, how crazy is it that you actually get a living wage just for doing the type of job, the work? Net Rando says, peace and prosperity from Canada on Victory Day. Oh, yeah, that's right. They're celebrating Victory Day in Russia and China because today was the day to declare victory over defeating the Nazis. So, yes, happy Victory Day. Red Dove Rising says, the anonymity of our times is a contributing factor. I don't know the person, so don't care. You'd never do that to a friend. Small communities is what we need. That's a really good point. Is we need to start to get to know our neighbors as much as we possibly can, so that when things actually do happen, it hits us here. Because once it hits us here, then guess what? Then we're like, oh my God, what's going on? And I think that's one of the things that's making it so tough in this country. There's so many people who just, if something bad happens and if it doesn't affect them, it's like, yeah, it's out of my mind. I don't really care. It's like, whatever. And it's like, no, it's literally affecting people that are, indirectly connected to you. But people don't really get the sense of they don't get a sense of outrage because it just doesn't affect them personally. And so there's that empathy factor that I think that is lost among people. Cicely says, I've had DoorDash delivered to my house multiple times. That wasn't mine. Did I take it? No. Even when I didn't have any food in my fridge and was hungry as heck, because I would feel so guilty. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that sucks. That sucks, yeah. But at the same time, that food's just going to rot. It's going to go bad. I will tell you this, they're not going to come pick it back up. The person whose food it might be, they might go to that location to pick up their food, which I say, okay, but at the same time, there's contingencies in place. If the food doesn't get delivered, the person can complain, and then they can have the food redelivered right afterwards. So I would tell you this, do not feel bad if food accidentally gets delivered. Just take that as the universe saying, here you go. And then that person will get their food redelivered. They won't have to pay anything else. You know what I'm saying? So if it happens by accident again, if it's food that you can eat, because I know some people have certain dietary restrictions. If it's food that you can eat, then guess what? Take it. Take it, boo. You know what I'm saying? Take that as the universe saying, look, I want you to live longer. Eat, okay? You know. So don't feel guilty. Oh, shoot, do dissidents. I don't care if your kids are there. Shoot, they could join in the stream too. I'll send you the link really quick. And I'll send it to you. I'll send it to you via Twitter. Hopefully I can find you. Can I find him? I don't know if I can find him. This will be interesting having Do Dissidents back on. Found it. And but yeah, this is an interesting story. You know, I really actually want to talk about. All right, Do Dissidents, just shared it with you. So if you want to jump on stream, you can. I don't mind the kids. Kids are cool. So yeah, it's there. Let me go back to the chat. Yepek says, my liberal family says there's no reason to be outraged, which enrages me even more. Your empathy is what creates a sense of outrage. So yeah, absolutely. I think that is very important to have and maintain that sense of outrage. So keep it and, you know, use that sense of outrage to talk about these things and bring it to home. Keaton, if you're ready, just give me a thumbs up. All right. So,
hey man, what's up?
Hey Keaton, good to see you, man.
Great to see you as always, my friend. Can you hear me all right? I don't have any of my equipment set up. This was just an impromptu thing.
No, you're good. Yeah, I can see, I can hear you, and I can see you quite fine.
Cool, excellent. Yeah, no, I just figured I volunteered to talk to you because I drive for these apps myself, and what a horrible thing to see. That was the first I learned of it, was just watching your show right now, and so I do want to reach out to that guy. I know he has a link tree, just to give some advice. You know what I mean? Because the thing about these apps is, as you said, it's absolutely brutal. They don't not pay a living wage. They don't pay anything. You can sit logged on to Uber for 3 hours, and if you don't get an order that's worth taking and you don't take any orders, you don't make anything. They don't guarantee you anything. There's zero guarantee of any wage. Now, the key is when you drive the apps, the thing about being an independent contractor that sucks is, yeah, there's no guaranteed wage. The thing that can be nice about it is you get to pick which orders you take before you take them. So when you get an order come in on your screen, it'll tell you how many miles you're driving, where the restaurant is, where the drop-off is, and what your guaranteed pay is for that order. It doesn't tell you the tip, but it tells you the guaranteed pay. So each order comes with, say, a $2, $3, $4, $5 base fare, depending on how long you're driving, which is it's low. Like if it's a 4 or 5 mile delivery job, it'll probably only have a $2 or $3 base pay. And then it will say what the total amount is. So if you are discerning and disciplined about which orders you take, you can do fairly well, but you have to reject all the lousy orders. That's how it works. So like it'll say, okay, here's a delivery from Applebee's to this house. You're going to be driving 6 miles and your guaranteed pay is $4.50. Crap. Turn it down. And the nice thing about the independent contractor is you're allowed to turn down any job that doesn't pay well enough. Now, the thing is, if you find yourself in a desperate situation, you might just take lousy orders, which is going to get you in that situation where you're not making anywhere near a living wage. My philosophy is, let the 17-year-old PMC kid who's driving his parents' car, let him take the lousy orders. Like if you're depending on this for a living, you got to only take those good orders. And so there is a way to make money on these apps, but they absolutely do exploit people who either can't do the mental math in their head as quick to figure out what's worth taking and what's not, or people who just feel like they have to take every order or else they'll get in trouble. Like these apps exploit the fact that people are ignorant of the rules. And by ignorant, I don't mean ignorant through any fault of their own. I mean, you work a job, you expect to have to stay in good standing with the boss, right? Uber, DoorDash, Grubhub, there are no bosses. You're working for Skynet, the Terminator movies. You're working for robots. Like there is no boss. There's no human element to this whatsoever, which is freeing in a way, but it's also intimidating in a way because there are not worker protections in place. There's no HR department to go to if you get screwed. I've been screwed out of money, screwed out of jobs where you'll drive 5 miles to go pick up an order and the customer will cancel the order and you'll get paid $1 as a consolation for having driven those 5 miles, which doesn't even cover your gas. So it's a brutal way to make a living in the sense that you really are on your own and all the company cares about is getting every order filled. So they're never going to tell you only take the orders that are good. Only take the good ones. But that's what I wish I could get through to guys like that when I see on the screen. I emailed them just now. I said, look, I'd be happy to talk to you on the phone about, how to make more money at this because there are things that these companies will never tell you. They will withhold that information on purpose. For example, Uber has this thing called an acceptance rating where they incentivize a high acceptance rating, meaning you accept X amount of trips as a percentage of requests that come in. If you accept 70% of rides, you get gold status, you get platinum status, you get this, which is what, like a 20 cents off a gallon of gas. Like the status rewards are nothing. The only status that makes a difference is how much money you're making per hour. What is your wage? But they don't speak in those terms. They come up with all these bullshit ways to trick the drivers into making Uber money, making that CEO money. I mean, what a sickening figure. $414 million.
Yeah.
I mean, just incredible.
And my one of my biggest things is that, and I was talking about this with the Uber and Lyft drivers strike here in Orlando, is that some of them also can get locked out of the app from time to time if they're not doing what Uber wants them to do as far as the acceptance rate, right? And so because of that, then what ends up happening is, it's like, well, we can't make any money. It's like, even though we were making just a little, now we can't make anything at all.
That should not be allowed. That should not be allowed. My acceptance rating on Uber Eats is like 10%. I only take 10% of the orders because most of them are garbage. I only take the good ones. On DoorDash, my acceptance rating is like 12%. As an independent contractor, they cannot coerce you into taking a job you don't want. That's not allowed. So if that's happening there, then they have to blow the whistle on that. They have to.
Yeah, and so they were talking about this, and in fact, I talked about this last week, and so this is why they were on strike in the Orlando International Airport last week, And I was upset because I couldn't get down there because it was happening on one of my dialysis days. I had to come home, I had to sleep, and so I wasn't able to get down there. But my problem is that these companies are becoming more exploitative as time goes on.
Yeah.
You know, and as we see, you know, I'm just looking at, you know, the United States. I'm like, man, we need to do a French style. You know what I mean? But at the same time, it's like people are scared because if they try to rise up, then of course, you know, you have to deal with what's going on as far as basically we live in a police state. So it's you know, this is why I'm like, look, if we're going to rise up, we have to rise up in a unique way that they wouldn't expect. And this is why you know, talking to your neighbors and being able to converse with them and let them know, like, look, you know, I see you, I feel you, and we need to come together because this is an unsustainable system. And in educating people on why it's unsustainable, I think is also very important.
Well, yeah, I mean, yes, absolutely. And it's especially pressing and urgent when it comes to rideshare work and app work, because like I said earlier, you know, we don't work for a boss. We work for a computer. We work for an algorithm. They view us the same way we view them. We are just numbers to them. They do not acknowledge us as human beings and will never acknowledge each individual as a human being. The only way they will respond to human need and human pressure is through collectivized human effort, right? Because look, you work at a pizzeria, maybe that pizzeria employs 10 people. Now that pizzeria may pay you like shit, and it probably does. But you're one of 10 people that has direct contact with the boss, so they at least see you as a human being. They might treat you like shit anyway. In most cases, they probably do. But you are flesh and blood. Us Uber drivers, man, DoorDash drivers, Grubhub drivers, I drive for all of them. We are nothing. We are nothing but a number to these people. And they're not people. They're robots. We work for robots. And so the only way to catch their eye is to do it the way the Orlando drivers are doing it. They have to make their voices heard collectively in an organized way. And if that's true, that they're being penalized for a low acceptance rate, that is a complete violation of terms. I mean, that is not the way it's supposed to happen. The whole point of being an independent contractor is you run your business through Uber, right? So if you are a rideshare driver, the way Uber sets this up, the way they pitch it to you is you don't work for Uber. You are running a rideshare business. You're running basically a taxi business using the Uber platform to get rides, and you pay Uber their commission rate that they set. We don't. In exchange for them hooking us up with gigs. That's the way it's supposed to work. So once they are able to tell you, you must take X percentage of offers we give you or else you lose access to the platform, that's a violation. That should not stand. That cannot stand. And so they have to make that known if that's what's going on.
Yeah, so I'm going to show you what I showed everybody last week. This is out of Orlando Weekly. It says nearly 100 rideshare drivers, mostly people of color, rallied at Airport Lakes Park as part of a planned work stoppage to formally announce their demands for Uber and Lyft. The two most popular rideshare companies, drivers say, hold on to a bulk of what they charge passengers, forcing drivers to work multiple jobs or to work long hours to make ends meet for themselves and their families. And so this is actually a pretty long article. And it says the guild, let me see, according to the organization's website, it says they fight for the right to collectively bargain in addition to securing living wage for Uber and Lyft drivers, fighting unfair deactivation in which a driver is barred from picking up new rides on the rideshare app. And so this is some of the stuff that's going on with these companies, and you know, they are basically forcing them to work under duress. And whenever I speak to someone about you know, because a lot of times you'll have people that go, well, you know, they have the option whether they want to or not to do, you know, said thing, you know, when it comes to work. And I'm like, no, not if they're under duress. And a lot of people realize that what duress actually means, and duress means threats, violence, constraints, or other actions brought to bear on someone to do something against their will or better judgment. So this is synonymous with coercion, compulsion, force, pressure. and intimidation. So people are literally working under duress in order to survive. And that is absolutely morally wrong. And you have these companies and these corporations that are forcing people to continuously work under duress just to make these people, these billionaires, money. For instance, $414 million in compensation.
Yeah. It's just absolutely sick, man. It's absolutely sick. Because I know, like I said, I do it. I drive for DoorDash, and sometimes I could do pretty well. But even when I do pretty well, man, it's such a hustle just to scratch out the bare minimum of what you can live on. And these guys, man, they come up with an algorithm that works. Think about it, man. These are transportation companies. They don't call themselves that. They call themselves, logistics companies. They're transportation companies. They have not bought a gallon of gas ever. A CEO of Uber's never bought a gallon of gas for any of his drivers. And yet look at the profits that they sit on for basically creating a network, creating an app, creating a formula, and just replicating that formula, in thousands of places all around the world. That's all they do. And 414 million, while these drivers can barely scrape by, if that. All right, man, I have to run because my kids need things, as you can probably hear one of them. I got you, buddy. Don't worry. I'm on my way. All right, JB, great to see you as always. Thank you, man.
All right. Thanks, man. Thanks for having. Thanks for coming on. All right. Bye. And so, if you guys would like to go to Do Dissidents, they have a great channel. They do great work. Go and follow Do Dissidents. Keaton and Russell do amazing work over there. So thank you so very much for adding that in and stopping by. Just to go here, it says Purple Philosophy. Thank you so much for the super sticker. Appreciate it very much. That means a lot, especially to me on this channel. That was great. Thank you so very much. I really appreciate it. A lot of what Keaton had to say regarding that, and also giving tips to how to maneuver. Bill Bradley says lots of people not in the ruling class also have no morals. Our society is falling into hedonism. There are fewer and fewer moral positions left. In regards to that, I think part of that is we're being brainwashed out of morality. Our ethics are being brainwashed out of us. And so when that happens, then people start to think like the corporate dictators that are over them, right? And so I think that we need to start using our voice. We need to be the loudest people in the room, because once we become the loudest people in the room, then we can start to shut these people out. But also organizing so that groups of us become the louder people in the room. So let's go to some more comments because you guys have been chitty chat. Let me see. Oh yeah, this is a good point. Red Dove Rising. And apps harvest your information and resell them, making them more money. Nobody reads the terms. Yeah, that's also a really good point. Yeah, Brian Wagner says geospatial AI overlord. Did you guys ever see iRobot? My logic is undeniable. Oh my goodness. Hey gamer, good to see you. I didn't get to see you say hello to you. Good to see you in the chat. All right. Gorgazilla 1 says hit the like. Yes, thank you so much. And be sure to hit the like button, everybody. Appreciate it very much. Thank you so very much. I'm trying to find some ones that I didn't get to say hello to, as well as okay. Candles Built 504 says, I like the comment earlier about if we create more community, it helps humanize all these jobs. That's true. Actually, I think you said it better than me, because I think that's one thing that we need to do is just humanize each other. So yeah. Abeg says that was informative. I will tip more after this. Yeah, I think solidarity with your workers also means in making sure that they aren't exploited. And if you can tip a little bit more, then make sure they're not exploited. And that's what we do in the meantime until we can take these corporate dictators out of power. Once we get these corporate dictators out of power, then we'll make sure that the people who are driving for these companies, that they're actually well compensated for the work that they do. All right. So also let me go to Rockfin to say hello. Oh, we got Rory in the Rockfin chat. So good to see you. And then I'm going to be moving on to my next story. I was not expecting to go this long in the story, but Keaton came in. I was just like, Keaton, let's have a conversation, brother. So thank you so much to Rory O'Neill. Hang on, let me share the screen just so that I can display it just like I do with everything else. All right. Mr. Sandman. Okay. Rory O'Neill says, happy Tuesday at JB. It's good to see Rory O'Neill. All right, so what's going to be the next story? So I'm going to be talking about this. I kind of wanted Keaton to stay so I can go into the next story and talk about it with him. It's kind of impromptu, but he's a parent. He has kids. He gotta, do his parent thing. But the next story we're going to be going into today is Cold War on China. So China continuously is being made the boogeyman in the West, and while these countries are not perfect, China, from what I observe, is doing some more positive things that I think that the U.S. should be doing, but they don't do. And so now what the United States is doing is just they wrong for that. That's all I got to say. So let me go to my list because I got a list. And yes. Okay. So there is there's something that I need to show y'all. Let me see. Let me take that down. I'll keep that and take those down. Okay. Share the screen, JB. That's right. We're going to share a screen. Give it to me. Hit me one more time. All right. So it says U.S. and Taiwan in talks. In talks for U.S. $500 million in free weapons after arms deliveries stalled. Subheading says Taiwanese defense minister says the island will receive free supplies, including missiles and training, in addition to existing orders. So the armaments are expected to be those readily available in the U.S. inventory. So this came out yesterday. It says Taiwan in talks with the Pentagon for $500 million in free weapons following delays in much-needed arms deliveries, the island's defense minister said on Monday. Defense Minister Chioku Cheng told the Taiwanese legislator that the talks have been underway for at least 4 months, confirming for the first time that the United States would send them free munitions. This is dangerous. Dangerous. Why? Because you are literally going across a red line that China said do not cross. You're literally playing with fire, not just fire, nuclear fire. And you're foregoing the one China policy that you guys have been adhering to for decades. And now look. The United States is playing with fire. It's not enough that we had 2 House speakers within the last year go to Taiwan And they're like, yeah, that's a red line. Don't cross. And now they're shipping free weapons. Well, technically it's not free. Nothing's ever free, especially when the United States is concerned. But free weapons to Taiwan. Quote, these extra weapons will be given to us for free and will not be deducted from the purchase list, which has been delayed by the United States, Chu said when pressed by lawmakers on the deal. Taiwan has complained of delays to U.S. weapon deliveries, including Stinger missiles and advanced F-16V fighter jets. The U.S. authorized the sale of 250 Stingers to Taiwan in 2019, but the shoulder-mounted missiles have been in demand in Ukraine. Asked what kind of weapons will be involved, Chu said they will include missiles and some logistics services to help train our soldiers so that they will be familiar with the weapons operations as soon as they arrive. And so I'm going to show you guys this video really quick. Hopefully I will not get a copyright strike because this is technically fair use because this is news. But let's go. So I'm going to keep the music down, but it says tension remains high in Taiwan. Says tension remains high in the Taiwan Strait as PLA military drills entered their third day. The People's Liberation Army started simulating precision strikes in Taiwan on April 8th. Says mainland state media said patrols are surrounding and closing in on this island to circle it. Here's the thing, though. The crazy part is if we go by the one China policy, Taiwan is basically a province of China. Like, how are we going to sit there and act like Taiwan is some independent country? Like, is Alaska an independent country? Is Florida an independent country? Is Hawaii? Hawaii's really not the best example, but Hawaii should be an independent country. Puerto Rico should be an independent country, but they're not. But the thing is, the United States has really no moral leg to stand on. Like, my thing is, if you're going to try to liberate or help, Taiwan, then American Samoa, Guam, U.S. Virgin Islands, Puerto Rico, Alaska, Texas, like, y'all need to let all that go. Let it go. Let New Mexico go. Let California go. Let Puerto Rico go. Let them go. But you don't want to. And yet, you're trying to don't throw stones in glass houses. But yet, that's what they're doing. Anywho. So it says PLA aircraft flew dozens of sorties near the Taiwan Strait during the joint sword exercises. These drills are said to be test of PLA ability to seize control of the sea, air, and information. Let me see. So, hang on. All right. So,
实案组织，着眼提高火力快反和精准毁伤，全面检验武器装备实战运用中的新打法、新战法。
It began as Taiwanese President Tsai Ing-wen returned from a stopover in the United States. I met with top U.S. officials, including U.S. House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, on her transit stops. Because the meeting angered Beijing, which accused Washington of violating Chinese sovereignty, which it did because they had the one China policy. And they basically did violate Chinese sovereignty. So, of course, Beijing would be upset. And the United States is like, too bad, so sad. But would how would the United States feel if China did the same thing to Alaska? Well, we need, or even still, let's go to Puerto Rico. What if the United States did this to Puerto Rico? Right? So a lot of times people will look at the United States and go, well, we're just trying to help the people. And I'm like, well, China could do the same. But then people will be ready to fight. So it is no reason to say that, well, if China's ready to fight, stop poking the bear. Ay. All right.
以过境为幌子，纵容台独分裂分子在美国从事政治活动，开展美台官方往来，提升美台实质关系，此举严重损害中方主权和领土完整。
Tsai's meeting with McCarthy was the first time a Taiwanese leader has met a U.S. House Speaker on American soil since 1970. U.S.-China tensions have worsened over Washington's interactions with Taipei. In August 2022, the U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi visited Taipei as part of a tour of Asia, prompting similar condemnations from Chinese officials. Beijing sees Taiwan as a weak province and view that it can land by force. And the thing is like people are going to say, well, they're trying to force their way, to keep it, and you have the United States trying to force their way into China. Most countries would not consider Taiwan to be a sovereign state, but many oppose possible attempts to take the self-rule island by force. Here's my thing. If China really wanted to take Taiwan by force, how can you take something that's already yours? First of all. Second of all, even if China wanted to take Taiwan by force, they would have been done it. They would have been done a long time ago. So why in the hell wouldn't they? Because it's already theirs. That's like the continent of Africa trying to, claim Madagascar. Madagascar is already part of Africa. It's been part of Africa. Even though it's an island right off the coast, it's still part of it. Am I crazy for thinking that? Weird. In Taiwan, the mainland's latest military exercises have elicited a mixed response. This is good.
我觉得台湾人应该很多都算是习以为常，对，就是觉得说，就是又过来了这样。
我觉得这样真是像以前大家在中共比较和平的状况下，我是觉得统一不会。
She said, I thought unification would not create any major problems for me.
对我造成很大负担，可是现在看香港的状况，就会觉得他有点去警示的感觉。
I think China is kind of issuing a warning.
感觉。
Across the strait in Fujian province, mainland tourists voiced support for the drills. Sorry.
还是比较希望能够和平收复的嘛。然后毕竟军演啊什么的都是说可能给是展现我们国力强大的一个部分吧。然后像蔡英文他串美这件事的话，
其实国家的回应我觉得是蛮好的，也是不会，既是打击了他嚣张气焰，也是给我们就是全国人民一个信心吧，我们一定能够收复台湾。
So that's basically what's going on. And, the United States is consistently trying to poke the bear as far as China is concerned. And there's some other things that have been going on that were really very recent in the news. And so I'm going to share this with you guys as well. I'm going to show you guys a tweet from Carl Jha. You guys know that he was here about a little over a week ago, and we were talking about some things regarding China. Carl Jha is Chinese, and so he was speaking about, the things that go on in China and some of the misconceptions. And Carl Jha quote tweets, he says, "Canada expels Chinese diplomat. There will be consequences." And let's see this statement. It says, "Canada declares Zhao Wei persona non grata." And persona non grata just basically means unacceptable or unwelcome person. And so it continues, says, "The Honorable Melanie Joly, Minister of Foreign Affairs, today issued the following statement. Canada has decided to declare persona non grata Mr. Zhao Wei. I have been clear. We will not tolerate any form of foreign interference in our internal affairs. Diplomats in Canada have been warned that if they engage in this type of behavior, they will be sent home. This decision has been taken after careful consideration of all factors at play. We remain firm in our resolve that defending our democracy is one of the utmost importance." So this is what is being accused of Zhao Wei. That was a diplomat in China. But I would like to actually go into this conversation between Canadian Deb and Carl Jha. This is actually very interesting. Canadian Deb says, "You don't see why this action will be taken, Carl? Honest question. Not looking for a fight with you or any of your followers. Wondering if you can see the, quote, reasonable reason behind what you find unreasonable, end quote, in this matter. Sometimes when we disagree with a conclusion, we can still follow the logic that the other party took to get there. Is that the case here?" Carl actually responds and says, "Let's look at the facts. Canadian intelligence, CSIS, claimed China is collecting info on Michael Chong, who has family in Hong Kong. Chong said that he is not aware of it. Then the CSIS claimed likely to effort to intimidate Chong. Even if we take CSIS claim of China collecting info on Chong as true, it looks like China hasn't done anything beyond collecting info. Why would China collect info on Chong? Well, China sanctioned Chong in 2021 for pushing Uyghurs genocide nonsense. I imagine you need to find about his financial dealing in China to sanction his derriere. Anyway, China has decided to embark on decoupling from Canada has decided to embark on decoupling from China that U.S. hawks desperately wanted. So be it. Canada can live with its consequences." And so this basically shows that what's going on in Canada, that this is Canada is choosing its side, and it's basically that the little brother to the United States. It is the little annoying brother to the United States. That's what it feels like to me. That's what it seems like. And, it is what it is. But China also made a move. So let's go and check and see what China did. So China said, "Oh, real talk? Okay, bet." So this is out of People's Daily China. It says China on Tuesday, which is today, ordered a Canadian diplomat in Shanghai to leave the country by May 13th as a countermeasure, the Chinese FM said. So this is actually what's going on. So it's like, well, China's like, well, yeah, okay, your diplomat needs to get the step in now too. Kick rocks. So, there's a lot that's going on in regards to China right now. And there's this like vitriol that's going up against China, but it's like, what vitriol has China really ignited that is really a cause for concern? Because things like the Uyghur genocide have actually been debunked by many different people. You can go to those different various resources. And so what is really China doing? Like, people will say, oh, well, China's having a lot of influence on African countries, yet China was one of the ones who actually canceled the debt. I think it was 17 different debts that they canceled. And even still, of course, China wants to have some influence. Every country wants to have influence. And they're going about it by actually giving, giving these countries infrastructure, but they're not doing it in a forceful way like the United States does it. They're like, as long as we have friendly relations and friendly trade, if you guys will have that, and we'll have loyalty between each other, then that's how we'll do it, right? You guys still seeing me, Louis, there in Talamon? I went out for a second. My Wi-Fi went out for a second. My internet went out for a second. Oh, just let me know in the chat, but I'll keep going. But yeah, so a lot of these African countries are, basically using soft power. And I don't really see that big of an issue with it, because it's really helping out the people. You catch more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. Bill Bradley says China's using what's called soft power. It's not coercion. It's creating goodwill and thus a desire to work together. And that's basically what I see. Thank you so much for that, Bill Bradley. Always coming in with the, elevating the conversation. I appreciate it. So there's something that I found that a lot of people are now starting to look at. And for some reason, I was just like, this could be a concern for the West. This is out of Bloomberg. It says China's gold splurge reaches 6 months as reserves rise again. This came out a couple days ago. It says China added to its gold reserves for the 6th straight month, extending a flurry of purchases as central banks around the world expand their holdings of bullion amid escalating geopolitical and economic risks. China raises gold holdings by 8.09 tons in April, according to data from the State Administration of Foreign Exchange on Sunday. Total stockpiles now sit at about 2,076 tons after the nation increased reserves by about 120 tons in the 5 months through March. Central banks have purchased large amounts of gold in the past year to diversify assets, as well as to protect reserves from the impact of weakening dollar and rampant inflation. While inflows moderated in the first quarter of 2023, volumes were still historically elevated levels, according to the World Gold Council. Singapore, China, and Turkey were among the biggest buyers. The voracious appetite for gold has helped prices scale near record highs as markets fret over a slowing U.S. economy and signs of a persistent credit stress. Geopolitical risks stemming from increasingly fragile Sino-American relations are also boosting a safe haven appeal of bullion. China's recent buying spree that began in November is a first since a 10-month run that ended in September 2019. Prior to that, the last wave of inflows ended in late 2016. Meanwhile, China's end of April current foreign currency reserves rose to $30.2048 trillion, up by $20.9 billion from the month before, the data showed. It says rise in the foreign exchange reserves was a result of U.S. dollar depreciation and rise in global financial asset prices. The foreign exchange regulator said in a statement, China's economic rebound will help the reserves keep basically stable. So China is now swimming in gold. Not looking so good for the United States. Not looking so good for the de-dollarization. Not looking so good for global, U.S. hegemony. Not looking good for full spectrum dominance. So the United States is ramping up. They're like, oh my God, we got to go after China. They're going to be so prosperous. They're going to make us look bad. China's just doing what it can for its people. Is China really the enemy? I don't see a whole bunch of imperialism coming out of China. Do you? I don't see it. But the problem is that it's kind of like oh, got it. Husbands. You ever had friends that their anniversary was coming up, or wife's birthday, something like that, and your friends that are a married couple, the husband does this big display, right? They take them on a big trip. They get them a really big present. They do something really grand, beautiful, large type of thing for their spouse. And then the husband gets mad. He's mad at the other husband because now the wife's looking at the other wife and going, well, my husband never does anything like that for me. I would like for something like that. And so the husband gets mad. He gets jealous. Instead of stepping his game up, he gets mad at the other husband. The United States is that husband. The United States is going, trying to step in their game up with their people. Absolutely not. Not on my watch. We're going to make them pay instead of stepping their game up for their people. China has 4 times the people that the United States has. 4 times more than we do. Yet, landmass is similar. China has a similar landmass than the United States. But the United States does not do as well for its people. What was it? China, they got rid of extreme poverty in their nation. Now they still have some poverty, but extreme poverty is gone. Gone. Carl Jha was on here about 2 weeks ago. What is it? He said 80% of Chinese people own their homes. The home ownership rate in China is 80%. Meanwhile, we're floating around 65% here in the United States. If you count white people, it's like 65%. If you count black people, our home ownership rate is probably between 45 and 50%. So, yes. Thing is that the United States is basically just a jealous husband that he can't do for his wife because he just chooses not to. It's not that he can't. He can, but he just chooses not to. Meanwhile, China is like, hey, honey, I'm home. Here's a bouquet of flowers. You want some chocolates? Here's some chocolates. It's not our anniversary. It's not my birthday. I don't care. Just because. I love you, baby. But the United States is like, oh, I can't do that. I don't want to do that. She knows I love her, even though it doesn't show it. So yeah, that's what it looks like to me. And the yuan is on the rise. I'm gonna go to the chat real quick. Man, I'm telling you, man, this is some crazy stuff, man. The United States, and they're trying to get their little pestering little brother Canada to join in. All right, to the Rockfin chat. So we have Jenny saying, listening in. Thank you for this. Thumbs up. Thank you so much, Jenny. Appreciate it so much. Let's go to the other chat. All right. Baba Yaga Forest Dweller says China is doing what America should have been doing. I agree. Now, I'm not saying China's perfect, right? China got a lot of things that they need to do right too. But they are operating better on the world stage than the United States. And you got to remember, China got, 1.4 billion people? Billion with a B. And they were able to get rid of extreme poverty. Meanwhile, we got 330 million. We got about a quarter of what they have. And we can't do that for our people? We can't increase the home ownership rate in this country? The Quantum Alchemist says you catch the most with honey and vinegar, speaking from experience. Oh, gosh. You slay me, Quantum Alchemist. Red Dove Rising says, as the self-proclaimed rulers of the world, yes, they should have at data. Bill Bradley says, we're in the death throes of the U.S. empire. Agreed. It's going down. Guarantee you better meet me going down. Ryan Wagner says, can't wait to tell my kids about this point in history if we make it through. I hope we do. Candles Boat says, we could be building rail systems, creating green jobs, taking care of our people. Oh my God, thank you so much. Yes. We could have high-speed rail crisscrossing this country. We could, but we don't. We could be having high-speed rail so that I can get from here to New York in 6 hours. I can get from here to California in a day. We could do that. But the United States says, no. Because we need the corporations. The corporations need to make the money. And then we need to exploit, because if we don't exploit, then that means we're not going to have our billions. We need our billions. Meanwhile, when billionaires in China actually end up exploiting people, they actually end up in prison. Give me that system. People, I'm telling you. Bill Bradley says, to be fair, gold does not have a whole lot of use value. Even its value is based on largely being pretty. If it goes to hell, gold is worth nothing. Food is the real wealth. Thank you for that. Actually, that makes a lot of sense, too. Abeg says that's intentional and designed why home ownership is kept low for African Americans. Right. Let's talk about redlining, baby. Bad Cookie says they're ending up in prison for now. Capitalism. News analysis with Arturo says we need high-speed rail from Boston to Seattle or from Seattle to Oakland. Oh, we need it all over. Mm-hmm. And Red Dove Rising says time to buy a farm. We could, but we would have to literally have to wrangle it from Bill Gates' hands, because he's literally one of the largest owners of farmland in the United States now, which means that he has basically ownership of a lot of our food. Welcome to capitalism. So I'm going to be moving on to the next story. This is going to be a sad story. Oh boy. I'm sorry, guys, but I got to get into this one. I usually like to end my streams on happy notes, but this one is tough, but this one needs to be talked about, and this is in regards to Glenn Greenwald. Glenn Greenwald is okay. I will start off with that, so you guys don't have to worry. But when we talk about people who are especially in independent media, as well as people who are in journalism, certain things happen and we have to talk about it. So the last one we're going to talk about is tragedy for Glenn Greenwald, and I'll let you guys know why that picture is up, why the way it is. So I'm going to share a tweet from Glenn Greenwald. He wrote it in Portuguese, but thank goodness for translation, because I'll be reading it. Okay, so Glenn Greenwald says, "It's with great sadness and regret that I announce the passing of my husband, David Miranda. He will be 38 years old tomorrow." Damn. His passing this morning comes after a 9-month struggle in the ICU. David passed peacefully, surrounded by our children, family, and friends. So you see, there's pictures of him with his family and his husband, David. He continues, says, "David's life was extraordinary, and in every way. His mother died when he was just 5 years old, leaving him an orphan in Jacarezinho. A beautiful neighbor, Donna Elaine, welcomed David, and despite poverty and already having 4 children, became David's mother and gave him a chance at life." She gave David the chance to live up to his enormous potential, overcoming the barriers for a boy like him. He was central to the reporting of Snowden, an first openly gay man elected as city council in Rio, and later as deputy. His biography, passion, and strength inspire many. This is why it's important he was a journalist and reporting of Edward Snowden, who is basically a whistleblower. So this is them with Edward Snowden. So this is why this is very newsworthy that we have to report on things like this. Glenn continues, says, "David's origins fueled many preconceived notions in those who didn't know him. Anyone who knows him would attest that there is no one with such a strength and so full of life. He was very proud to be chosen by Time magazine as the next generation leader." Says, "But above all, David's biggest dream, what filled his heart the most, is his biggest purpose, was to be a father. He was a devoted and loving father. He taught me how to be a father. And our amazing children, with their own difficult beginnings, are David's greatest legacy." When David arrived at the hospital late August 6th, I was told there was a little chance of him surviving that week. Heard the same 3 times since then. Being David, he refused. The last 4 months have given our family the most beautiful moments together. David was unique, the strongest, most passionate, most compassionate man I've ever known. Nobody had a bad word for him. I cannot describe the loss and pain. I will do my best to honor his legacy, our children, and NGOs. And I know many will celebrate it and its impact. Thank you, President. And this was the condolences from President Lula da Silva of Brazil. It says, thank you, President. And for everyone expressing love and prayers for David and our family. It means a lot in the last 9 months. David heard them all. And it is and will be a testament to the extraordinary impact he had in a tragically short time. David Miranda was the same age as me. My deepest condolences to you, Glenn Greenwald, and to your family, to your boys. It is sad to see your loved one go, but it's also sad to see a journalist that had the guts to report on what's going on, especially against the United States. You know, that is a brave man. And so I just wanted to extend my deepest condolences to you, my deepest condolences to the Brazilian people for losing a wonderful journalist, especially. So, you know, I've never had Glenn on. I would like to have Glenn on in the distant future after you've, you know, gone through your mourning process. But when does it ever end? You know, it really doesn't. You just learn how to deal with it. But I'm also talking about this because I'm gay too. And a lot of times, you know, a lot of people, straight people will talk about, losing, their spouse, but you don't hear a lot about gay people losing their spouses. And so it's got to be such a difficult time. And if you may have your reservations about Glenn Greenwald and things, and you can have those reservations, but be kind or be silent. Be kind or be silent. You know? Because I can't imagine what he must be going through. And the crazy part is, and I feel bad for this, that I didn't know that his husband was going through this. This is all brand news to me. This hit me out of nowhere. And I got the news from Sabby. Sabby Sabs texted me, Glenn's husband died. I'm like, what? So that's tragic news from Glenn Greenwald. You know, and my heart goes out to you. And I don't care if this happens to people who I don't agree with. I don't care if this were to happen to, say, God forbid, Cenk Uygur or somebody like Anna Kasparian, or if it happened to Ben Shapiro. I wouldn't care. I would still say my condolences, and then that's it. Because it's about people in their lives, man. And I send out my love to you. condolences and solidarity as well. And if you ever need anything, whatever I can do, please feel free to reach out. I follow you on Twitter, so you can DM. But yeah, don't really know much else. But my heart's with you. So I'm gonna go to the chat really quick. Bad Cookie says best wishes to his fam. Thank you so much. Abeg says RIP. News and Analysis for Arturo says RIP David Miranda. That Cookie says, so true, JB. The morning never ends. It just subsides until something reminds you. And as somebody that just lost my grandmother, I'll be going to her memorial in a couple weeks. Man, this shit hits you like a ton of bricks. Thanks, Bad Cookies. I appreciate it. Condolences to Glenn Greenwald, praying for the Miranda family. Thank you very much for that, Kendall's vote. Appreciate it. I see what you said, Bad Cookies. I don't want to read it, but yeah, I'll read the last part. But Glenn doesn't deserve this. Yeah. Baba Yaga Forest Dweller says it pisses me off that Glenn gets treated the way he does and people don't realize what people are going through behind closed doors. That's a point. It's a good point. Kendall's vote says, I love Glenn. Good point, JB. We're all human. We all hurt. We lose when we lose someone we love. Doesn't matter what political party, beliefs, disagreement, etc. Back to keeping things human to heal society. Yeah. Thanks, Quantum Alchemist. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. But yeah, so that was the bad news that I had to bring to you guys. But yeah. But he got to say goodbye, which is somewhat of a positive thing, somewhat of solace, So yeah, but I just want to, thank you guys for watching today. This was a really great conversation. Thanks to Keaton for jumping on, impromptu like that. That was great. Appreciate that very much. Also, stay tuned. I will be getting into Assata Shakur's autobiography. We'll be going into chapter 12 or 13? Chapter 12. So I'll be getting into chapter 12 next. I can't wait to get into that. Also, I did a live stream on Sunday evening. I was reading chapter 2, part 1 of Laziness Does Not Exist by Dr. Devon Price. So if you guys have not, then you guys can tune into that. So I'll be continuing to reading this weekend. But I think that, this will be a great, great watch for you guys. This one is actually really good because it really got deep into talking about different types of lazy people, but then it went into more of what's the motivation to why they're lazy. You know what I mean? And it went in, Dr. Devon Price goes into that, and it really just this part of the chapter was cathartic for me. And I would love to have Dr. Devon Price on to discuss their book, because this really helped me a lot, especially as somebody that's a big procrastinator. Yeah, I'm a big procrastinator. So I really appreciated that. So if you guys have not picked up this book, go ahead and pick this book up. Or if you guys just want to hear me read it, you guys can go into, this channel, go into the playlist. Laziness Does Not Exist, and you guys can start, watching from there. So thank you so very much. Roger Meadows, thanks for the $2. Says, hold on, Jay. I'm in New York State with Keaton. Got rocks. Lot to say. All right, Roger. I'll try to extend things out a little bit. But yeah. So that book was great. Holistic Radical. Oh, excuse me. Says, oh, you guys were talking about something else in the chat. Lose Therein Thalman says, I don't know. I can definitely be lazy when the mood strikes me. But that's what the book was actually talking about. That's the interesting part, is that really one of the things that explains is that lazy feeling isn't really laziness as the moral failing that people are saying. It's really your body telling you to chill out because you're overwhelmed, either mentally, emotionally, or physically, or all three. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't talk about. And we're constantly being demonized for not producing, because we live in a capitalist system that puts your value in what you produce instead of your value as just being an intrinsic value that you have within yourself as a human being. Because we have a system that's built on production and then consumption. And I think that's something that we need to talk about more often, is that, do we really need to produce this much? Do we need to have this many TVs, this many cars, this many mattresses, this many furniture? Do we need this much stuff? And then when it comes to the food, look, a lot of people may not know this, but a lot of these food companies will throw out perfectly good food just to keep their food prices at a certain level. Even farms will dump milk. They will slaughter chickens and cows and then just bury them. They'll euthanize them. And then all that meat and produce is thrown away just to keep the prices at a certain level, because that's how capitalism operates. And so we don't really need to produce as much as we think we do. And if we went to a more central planning model, then number one, we wouldn't need as much of these products, number one. But number two, a lot of these products that we have, we wouldn't have to worry about this planned obsolescence, where it's planned on breaking down in a short period of time so that you have to buy it again. So yeah. Baba Yaga Forest Dweller says, what is laziness? Is it hopelessness? Is it drive? Is it asshole driven? It could be hopelessness. It could be a lack of drive. It could be so many different things, but it actually discusses it in that book, in the latest chapter 2, part 1, where I was reading. So I think that would be great to tune into. That Cookie says, "Don't look at me. I've had the same mattress since college. I should really get a new mattress." Yeah, you're really supposed to change it between every 6 to 8 years. I actually used to sell mattresses. I'll put it this way: if your sleep quality and your physical comfort is still okay, clean the mattress, put a cover on it, and keep it moving. But if your sleep quality goes down and things like that, then try to get yourself something new. But test the mattresses out at the furniture store or the mattress store that you go to, and then try to get it, at a lower price, online or something like that. And a lot of times they'll try to talk you into getting the most expensive mattress, which is what I had to do. Sometimes they are worth it, but at a lot of times they're not worth the price because they will inflate the price by a lot. So. Ryan Wagner says capitalist overproduction is a mechanism of wealth extraction. Steals the profits, don't feed people. Absolutely. All right, so let me go into the Rockfin chat. All right, so homie came in the chat. All right, so let's see. What'd you have to say, homie? Thanks for the tip, Roger. He says, okay, I'm looking at the past on one phone and the present on the other. He said, brother's talking about Uber Eats. As an Uber driver myself, let me tell you how this came about. When Uber first came on the scene and they specifically said you don't have to tip, customers interpreted that as the tip is included. We fought Uber 5+ years ago to offer the tip option. Once we won it, people were so used to not tipping that they still don't. He said they still don't tip. You know how annoying it is when customer says 5 stars and you feel like saying, motherfucker, I can't pay rent with your 5 goddamn stars, tip mofo. It is even more annoying when people lie about going to tip and don't. Here's a clue. If they say they'll tip, that means they won't. Please come pick me up. I've been getting canceled by drivers and I will give a good tip. I learned when you see that, cancel. Wow. Yeah. Roger continues, says they are lying. Now, New York City is one of the only municipalities that has local government oversight called the Taxi Limousine Commission that properly regulates ride sharing. If you are a New York City TLC Uber driver, Uber cut is 30%, driver's cut is 60% after third-party fees taken out. Now, Attorney General James, that's Letitia James, is looking at price capping surge pricing, aka gouging, at 10%. Now, a lot of drivers are being propagandized, led to by Uber to be outraged about this. Uber wants to call up AG's office and express your dismay about how the government are infringing upon our potential earnings by capping the surges. No, I am not going to fight the government on behalf of my exploiter. My issue is, why do we have to depend on surges to make a living anyway? If you are so concerned about earning potential, then there is something you can do, like raise prices permanently. Uber should not be lower than taxis. We should be charging more than what they charge. Also, you are a global company. Uber can pay a wage of $70 an hour regardless of how many calls you take and how much each call is. Where if you make less than $70 the hour, then Uber will make up the difference. As long as the app you're on is getting $70 an hour regardless, they kick you off after 6 to 8 hours, guaranteeing drivers $420. This $560 a day, one and done. even if customers will pay more than the permanent price hike, but will be happier with stable prices so that they can intuitively figure out how much this call will cost so they can effectively budget themselves. Drivers won't be under constant anxiety over, oh shit, it's surging. Let me drop everything I'm doing, run out the house, and pick people up. Check this out. Uber drivers, listen up. It surges on the customer's app first before it surges on the driver's app. Yes. So when it is red on your end, it has already passed its peak on the customer side. So you're not even getting the full surge price. It is on its way down. That's why you're like, hey, why is it I only got this when the surge was crazy? That is why. Just like if you have to depend on overtime for your 8-hour job to make rent, then that is not the job for you. Apply that to surges also. Here's my prediction. What I think will happen, James will cap it, and Uber will be forced to raise prices, decrease their cut offer, more bonuses, or a combination of all of the above. Also, Glenn, you have my condolences. So I am like, go ahead, government, make my day and kill the surges. Got you. Got you, Roger. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. Thank you so very much for that. All right. So I'm going to head on out. I got some things to do. Plus, a brother is hungry. Oh, Lord. I got a lot of work to do today. But anywho, if you guys would like to, I think RBN Live is starting right now. I won't be there, unfortunately. But also, yeah, so stay tuned for the readings. I'll be getting into that. And I think Savvy's going live at 8 p.m. tonight. So yeah, be sure to tune in for that. Anywho, thank you so very much to everybody. Solidarity with the drivers for all these ride shares as well as food deliveries. And solidarity with the workers in China. That's who I'll express my solidarity with, as well as my condolences and, heartfelt, love and condolences to Glenn Greenwald and his family. So have yourself a wonderful day, everybody. Also, did you guys like the stream? By the way, did you like it? Go ahead and like. And if you have not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I talk about these things quite often. And also, thank you so much to the patrons on Patreon, Coffee, and members. Thank you so very much for all that you guys do. Without you guys, I would not be able to do this work. So, I just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Look, and like I always say, hug your loved ones a little bit more tighter today. Okay? Water your plants. Water yourselves. Leave the world better than you found it. And tell the people closest to you that you love them. Even if you already said it today, just say it one more time. And let them know that they matter. How much they matter to you. Because you never know when it'll be the last time you see them. And also, to people who you don't know, be kind. Because you don't know what they may be going through. They could be homeless and trying to deliver food to people as a means to make a living. Love you guys. Take care. Mwah. Forehead kisses.